Now, we all know what the Las Vegas Raiders fans, content creators, writers, journalists, everybody that cover the Las Vegas Raiders talking about who we're going to pick at number 6 or the overall pick when it comes to the draft. But in the same token, nobody's talking about the offensive line and what needs to be addressed there. And me personally, I'm going to sit here and tell you why. I feel like going out and getting a top offensive lineman and Ronnie Stanley would be a great pair for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders do have $100 and something million in cap space, according to Spots Track, and it's plenty of needs there on the offensive line. The most have tied with the Raiders into investing into a signal caller. But what about the protection investment when it comes to that? Now, when it comes to me thinking that Ronnie Stanley would be the right fit for the Las Vegas Raiders, I think it would. Now, if the Raiders plan on making a big run at a big name quarterback this offseason or a big name running back this offseason, but everybody talk about Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold, Sador Sanders, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart. They talking about Ashawn Genty and running backs and wide receivers in the draft, but nobody's really addressing the offensive line. And we need to surround these players that we want to get around a strong offensive line. And the Raiders actually do an impressive job finding good offensive value in the 2024 draft this past season, getting Jackson Power Johnson and getting DJ Glaze. Colton Miller has been the mainstay at left tackle. We all know that. But it might be time to find his replacement as he entered the final year of his contract, coming off one of the worst years as an All Pro and allowing 38 pressures and 7 sacks for Colton Miller. Ronnie Stanley could come in with a long term deal and a significant upgrade at left tackle, protecting the blind side, whoever ends up being the Raiders' next quarterback. Now, my personal opinion is this. Now, when it comes to the offensive line needing some reinforcement, the Las Vegas Raiders have prided themselves on physicality in the trenches. But in recent seasons, they have highlighted the team need for improvement along with the offensive line. Now, I have to say this when it comes to injuries and inconsistency in trying to bolster a unit for protection in their quarterback situation and establishing a dominant run game is a top priority for the Las Vegas Raiders, and it should be a top priority for them. Entering Ronnie Stanley as a proven elite left tackle who could be an answer to many of the Raiders' problems. Now, Ronnie Stanley does have elite talent. He's a former first round pick out of Notre Dame, and he's been one of the NFL's premier offensive linemen since he entered the league. Now, with his athleticism, his technique, his football IQ makes him an ideal anchor of any offensive line in the NFL. Now, despite battling injury in recent seasons, when he's healthy, Ronnie Stanley remains a top tier protector against elite pass rushers. His ability to hold his ground and create clean pockets would be a game changer for the Raiders' offensive scheme. Now, Chip Kelly would love to have Ronnie Stanley as his new offensive left tackle. But how would Ronnie Stanley fit with the Las Vegas Raiders? Now, that's a good question because the Las Vegas Raiders is looking to establish a consistent offensive identity, which we didn't have one all last year. Now, Stanley's presence will immediately elevate this unit. Now, the Raiders will have solid weapons on offense, which I know we will go out and get. But in addition to having a solidified left side of the line, giving this offense more flexibility in both in the passing and rushing attack. It's some key benefits here on why this potential pairing should happen. Now, his pass protection upgrade. Now, Stanley would provide much needed stability against these elite pass rushers in the AFC West, which including Joey Bosa and Chris Jones. Now, boosting the run game is another one too. His ability to open lanes and complement Raiders running backs, allowing them to be more effective. In a veteran leadership, he is a seasoned pro and he will bring leadership and experience to a young offensive line unit. Now, I know all the financials and the contract considerations can really hurt on why we won't get Ronnie Stanley, but adding Stanley would be a major win. The Raiders would need to navigate salary cap implications that's given his talent, he commands a high salary. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders will need to structure a deal that fits within the financial plans. If the Raiders can make the numbers work, this move could be a game changer for the offensive front. And just to say that the Raiders and Ronnie Stanley seems to be the perfect match. If the Las Vegas Raiders are serious of making the playoffs or making a push or competing in the AFC West, investing in an elite left tackle like Ronnie Stanley should be a top priority. But his presence could be the missing piece in transforming the offensive line into a consistent and a competitive force. Now, my personal opinion is this is that even though that Pete Carroll is a guy that loves to run the football. We've seen it with Marshawn Lynch. We see it with so many running backs that he got in the draft. It starts up front. Everything starts up front, and you have to invest in your offensive line if you want to win football games. You see what the Philadelphia Eagles did during the draft and free agency. You see that the Kansas City Chiefs did not invest in their offensive line at all. But we want to compete in this AFC West if we want to try to win games in this AFC West, which we didn't win not one game at all in the AFC West this season. So, in my personal opinion, this is the time that you go and get an offensive lineman like Ronnie Stanley, that's a veteran, and Colton Miller's on the last year of his contract, and he's on the decline. That's just my personal opinion. He's on the decline. And I think Ronnie Stanley will work. But how would y'all think about this? Would Ronnie Stanley be in the silver and black this year? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe for more Raiders news and analysis right here on Raiders Talk with Darian. And I'll see y'all in the next video.